Okay, so we can start. So when we talk about cybersecurity and blockchain, we usually think about smart contracts and all the bugs we read on X and other platforms. But in practice, most real incidents are not caused by a super exotic bug or something like that. So actually, most of the attack start in off-chain and then pass through human approval, and then they are triggered on-chain. So they are caused for more familiar problems like key management or poor policy engine and so on. So at the same time, Europe is catching up, sometimes I think faster than industry. Frameworks like Cyber Resilience Act and NIS2 so are forcing a shift from security as an audit event to security as continuous life cycle of obligation. So today we have 4 panelists. So please introduce yourself. So please, Eraclis.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Eraclis Anastasiou. I am one of the committee members for ISO TC 307 for blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. And I'm also the co-founder of Ontology Labs, a forensic investigation company where we specialize in court admissible investigative reports, as well as SaaS tooling for investigators, compliance officers, and auditors.
Okay. Thank you. Nice. Thank you. Nice to have you here. So please, Maria.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. It's very nice to be here with you, and I look forward to our discussion during this panel. My name is Maria Raphael. I'm a managing director of Raphael Legal, a law firm based in Larnaca, Cyprus, as well as the consultancy firm Privacy Minders, where we work at the intersection of law, technology, and regulation, focusing on emerging and existing digital regulatory frameworks such as the Cyber Resilience Act, NIS2, and the AI Act. As a delegate from the Cyber Standardization body, I am directly involved in European standardization through CEN-CENELEC as part of the JTC 13 Committee on Cybersecurity and Privacy, where in Working Group 9, we work together to develop the horizontal standards that will support CRA implementation, but more broadly within CEN-CENELEC and ETSI, we're developing vertical standards on the important and critical product categories under the CRA as per the European Commission's standardization request. My focus is on helping organizations to move from legal obligations to actual implementation of the legal requirements emerging from digital laws, by also being facilitated by the harmonized standards that are being developed or are in existence. Thank you very much.
So nice to have you here. So Christiana.
Likewise.
Yes, thank you very much. I have previously introduced myself, but okay, I'm a licensed by the Cyprus and EU Bar Associations lawyer, a transnational technology lawyer and a litigator. I'm a member in a number of ISO and CEN-CENELEC and ETSI committees, and also in ADPA Standardization Committee co-chair. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And João?
Hello, everyone. May I check if you can hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, hello, everyone. I'm João Andrade. I'm Portuguese, based in Portugal. Thank you for having me as well. And I'm partner at Hacken for cybersecurity and compliance, which in a nutshell means that I'm really responsible for assisting many different category of clients, from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges to private businesses, public institutions, on trying to achieve the highest level of cybersecurity assurance, not only on the cybersecurity side, but also on the compliance side. Here we are talking about seeking compliance with blockchain standards like the CCSS, for example. It can be compliance with DORA, can be compliance with VARA in the UAE. We act essentially globally. And more recently, we also expanded to offer services that allow regulatory compliance as well. Not yet globally, but looking to achieve that. So looking forward to our discussion. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad to have you here, João. So as you can see, it's a very diverse panel. So forensic, security auditor. So the question, as you can see, the question now is not, is the smart contract secure? So now is the system and the organization behind it actually resilient when something goes wrong? So question is very different. So for Eraclis, so from a blockchain forensic perspective, so what kind of incidents are still being misdiagnosed as smart contract failure when the real root cause is weak key management, poor operation controls, or broken compliance processes?
Thank you, Gabi. It's a very good question, a very loaded question. So I will begin to try and break it down into the various components. So when a protocol loses millions, right, the headline almost always reads as smart contract exploit or Binance hack, something like this. The narrative can be clear and clean, but from a forensic perspective, it is frequently inaccurate. Actually, in reality, we have seen and we continue to see, and we expect to see that in a growing manner in the future, that there is a massive misdiagnosis of incidents where the code in fact functioned perfectly, but the operational environment is the one that collapsed. As I said, when we talk about the software side of things, most people think of complex logic errors or Oracle attacks, even smart contract exploits. But we have been surprised time and time again to actually see that the more simple failure are human in nature. And we typically see three things. One would be weak key management, where these exploits, quote unquote, are actually just compromised private keys that are usually stored in plain text or even unsecured cloud environments. We also see insufficient compliance processes, which I would say include minimal internal personnel training, complete lack of internal controls a lot of times, and most importantly, the incidents where suspicious patterns were visible for hours or even days were breached and were allowed to be breached or to events to happen due to a lack of real-time monitoring. I would say the third thing as well that we've seen is poor internal operational controls. And this is what we refer to that lead to governance hacks. So this essentially means that these fraudsters perform, for the most part, different types of social engineering attacks, where their primary targets would be developers, engineers, and even C-level individuals with the intent to gain admin or even multi-sig access to the wallets, the company's wallets. Just to give you some context, around 70% of all EU SMEs currently lack a formal security structure. And what's more intriguing is that 1 of 3 of all these reported breaches in 2025 involved a current or former employee of those companies. And we can take a very recent example, which occurred on February last year, where over $1.5 billion were stolen from the Bybit exchange. While this, I would say, hack, quote unquote, was initially associated with a hardware wallet company called Safe and a potential smart contract exploit, the investigations actually confirmed that the smart contracts themselves were never breached. Instead, the attack was a very sophisticated supply chain compromise of the wallet's web infrastructure. More specifically, one of the workstations of a Safe developer was breached through social engineering. This malicious code specifically targeted the event where when Bybit exchange operators would sign routine transfers, therefore they were able to hijack the transaction to transfer ownership of the wallet to them. Obviously, a lot of recovery efforts involved Bybit, the exchange, working with firms like blockchain intelligence tools such as Chainalysis, as well as the crypto community to trace, report, and freeze just a tiny 3% portion of the entire stolen amount. I would say that we need to rethink what the wallet principle means, and organizations should strive to strengthen their infrastructure by implementing multi-party computation wallets, where the keys are essentially split, so no single individual can authorize such a potential disaster. Another method, a very good one used by major exchanges around the world, is hardware level security, where security enclaves can be utilized to effectively turn even mobile devices into enterprise-grade hardware wallets. Such, I would say, infrastructure implementations are especially useful for organizations and companies and the C-level executives tasked with authorizing large-scale transaction on a regular basis. Finally, I just want to mention what is not talked about enough, but I think it serves well for the question. It is probably the most important thing here, that compliance cannot be a silo. We need a synergistic relationship with local regulators. This is what we have been trying to do, right? The us versus them mentality only aids any bad actors in most of these cases. And in 2025 alone, for example, 2 out of 3 companies were not ready for the Network and Information Security Directive. And when it came into law, this resulted in a lot of firms facing up to 10 million euros in fines for non-compliance. So we need clear lines of communication and established standardized reporting templates. So when an incident happens, the data is shared in a format that the regulator understands, positioning that regulator to instantly escalate to the necessary supporting departments, such as cybercrime divisions, financial intelligence units, or even cross-jurisdictionally for collaboration, which essentially leads to the necessary flexibility for the typically, I would say, cumbersome bureaucratic process, allowing for a much faster and more effective response rate for asset freezing and recovery procedures to take place. And I need to stress that any corporation, they should be mindful of auditing their control procedures on a regular basis, being able to train their staff against social engineering, and they should always remember that a smart contract is only as secure as the human processes surrounding it. Thank you.
So thank you for your insights, because this shows how the new approach, the new paradigm is not anymore, oh, your smart contract were audited, so we are good, let's go. So it's more the new blueprint. It's is compliance, is how your keys were generated, did you do a key ceremony, etc. So yeah, so it was very insightful. So Maria, you are directly involved in the CRA framework standard. So in practical terms, what does cyber resilience by design? Because we security companies, we spread this security by design concept, but after DORA, resilience word start to be more and more important. So cyber resilience by design required from blockchain-based product that most teams still underestimate.
Yes, it's interesting that the term cyber resilience by design, it's not a term that can be found in the legal text, but it resembles a more familiar term to all of us, which is security by design. I would say that cyber resilience by design, it's that design, that risk-based concept that is meant to fulfill the objectives of the Cyber Resilience Act. So I'm as a part of the team developing the CRA horizontal framework standard within CEN-CENELEC JTC 13. To us, and in accordance to the law, security by design is fundamentally a risk-based concept. But it's not just that. Under the CRA, the security by design requirement is more than that. It has broader dimensions and legal impact. I would say that it is embedded in the first essential requirement, the essential cybersecurity requirement that requires products to be designed, developed, and produced in a way that it is proportionate to the cybersecurity risks. This means that the risk assessment, which is a legal obligation under the CRA and is a process that the manufacturers need to undergo as part of their legal obligation, is not a separate exercise on its own, but is part of the legal requirements for demonstrating conformity with the Cyber Resilience Act, and therefore is essential in order to enable obtaining access to the European market. Then the framework standards, which is called Cyber Resilience Principles, if I'm not wrong, it takes this concept, this first essential requirement, and operationalizes it through a structured approach. So in this standard, in this horizontal standard, which serves as the foundation for the development of all vertical standards, we discuss what is product's context, how risk assessment is conducted, how a risk is treated and monitored throughout cybersecurity, throughout the life cycle of a product. Specifically in the context of blockchain based contracts, I would say that what is often underestimated is the tension with immutability, because it means that once code such as a smart contract is deployed, it cannot easily be modified. But the Cyber Resilience Act requires you to foresee and anticipate changes, because it assumes and requires that a product remains secure over time, that is able to address vulnerabilities and adapt to evolving risks. So the manufacturer of a product placed on the EU market, it must ensure to design the system in a way that addresses risks and anticipates and foresees risks in advance, and be in a position not only for gaining access to the European market, but also as part of their obligations and risk management obligations throughout the product's support period, to ensure addressing risks relevant to the products, and any changes relevant to governance mechanisms, any upgrade strategies, etc., etc. But in addition, we also need to ensure that where third-party elements are integrated into the final product, such as examples, smart contracts, libraries, off-chain services, when these are intended to be integrated, the CRA requires the manufacturer to conduct a due diligence exercise to verify how these components impact the overall cybersecurity posture of the final product. So the key point is that resilience, when we hear resilience, we should not consider it as meaning that we need to make the systems unchangeable, but we need to ensure that they can remain secure throughout their life cycle, and foresee this as part of the risk assessment process undertaken during the design of the product and before placing the product into the European market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and if the concept of cyber resilience by design doesn't exist, it should, because I think defines perfectly the way. So for Christiana, so
yes, we are
you're-
moving. Just one comment, since you
Yeah.
said that. What Maria has highlighted is a fundamental shift in regulatory philosophy, because we are moving from product compliance at a point in time to continuous compliance across the life cycle. This is what she has just said. And this is particularly challenging for blockchain systems because many were designed with immutability as a core principle. Okay, let's move on. Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think? Where can smart contracts make strength or can make stronger the CRI compliance and cybersecurity? And where is the industry overstating what automation can realistically do?
Yes, so this is a very important question because it goes to the heart of how we position smart contracts within regulated digital infrastructures, and more importantly, how we avoid both underestimating them and overestimating them, their role. So smart contracts can genuinely strengthen compliance under the CRA in very specific and powerful ways. They are extremely effective when where rules need to be enforced consistently, transparently, and without ambiguity. For example, they can automate access control conditions, enforce data usage policies, and ensure that certain compliance-related actions are executed exactly as defined, without deviation and without human error. They also provide inherent, as we know, traceability, which is critical in a regulatory context where auditability and accountability are not optional, but in fact are required. In that sense, smart contracts can act as compliance enforcement mechanisms embedded directly into the infrastructure. And this is highly aligned with the direction of the CRA, which moves towards security and compliance by design and by default. However, and this is where we need to be very clear, the industry often overstates what automation can actually achieve. Smart contracts do not understand context. They cannot interpret intent. They cannot respond to evolving threats outside the parameters of their choice. And critically, they cannot manage what we might call off-chain realities. Governance failures, key management issues, human error, as it was previously explained by Eraclis, or even organizational weaknesses. So the risk is that we equate automation with assurance. And that is a dangerous assumption because automation enforces predefined logic. It does not guarantee resilience. Resilience, as defined under the CRA, is a life cycle concept. It includes vulnerability management, incident response, updates, monitoring, governance. These are dynamic processes, not static rules. So the real opportunity is not to position smart contracts as a standalone solution, but as a part of a broader standardized cybersecurity architecture. And this is exactly why smart contracts are now receiving such attention at the European level and under the new rolling plan. And as we will see, smart contracts are explicitly identified as a priority area alongside digital identity and other areas that we will see when Emilio will be presenting the rolling plan soon. Because smart contracts are increasingly seen as infrastructure components that intersect with multiple regulatory frameworks, GDPR, the AI Act, the Data Act, EIDAS, money laundering, and others. So the focus now is not just on developing the technology, but on identifying relevant use cases, aligning them with regulatory requirements, and feeding them into standardization bodies. And importantly, this work is already underway. There has been dedicated research on the use of smart contracts in the context of CRA, which has been supported and embraced within the European standardization ecosystem. And as a result, we are now moving forward with a CEN-CENELEC JTC 19 new working group 4, toward the development of a new project specifically addressing smart contracts within the context of CRA horizontal standards. So we are no longer at the stage of conceptual discussion. We are at the stage of structuring how smart contracts will operate within regulated cybersecurity frameworks. And this is where I believe there is a very important role for experts who understand both law, regulation, and technology, because the real challenge is not only technological, it is translational. This is how we call it, translational. It is about ensuring that requirements are correctly interpreted into technical design and that technical solutions are aligned with regulatory intent. And this is where legal and policy expertise becomes not just relevant, but essential. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana. So, João, let's compare this theory practice. So, from a cybersecurity and compliance delivery perspective, so what separates a project that is audit ready on paper from one that is actually resilient in production?
I just love the way. I love the way you started the question, because I don't know if it was or not, but you said theory and practice. I just wanted to make a step back, because in fact, and I will take this also as an opportunity to congratulate not only the panel and the event, but everything that we are discussing now is actually a lot of steps forward comparing to what's really happening in the industry. So what I'm about to say is from someone that daily deals with these people that are actually implementing these smart contracts and dealing with these security issues. So first, I think it's important to understand that there was a sentence from the last panel where a lady, I think called Fiona, said they are just hedging if they need to do it now or not. And I think at the present moment, as much as we want to structure everything and make businesses and entities comply with a lot of elements, we need to understand that when it takes to cybersecurity, it is important. Businesses and teams understand it is important, but they will always edge if they need to do it now or not, for many reasons. The first, and mostly connected with my intro, was or is that there's a huge disparity between what was demanded in the last 6-8 years when we talked about smart contracts to what we want now to implement. Because the teams that have been developing smart contracts, the teams that even dreamed about social engineering problems or access controls problems, they are not with the mindset and in the right place and in the right moment, especially how the market is at the moment, to even think about these issues. So we are actually, again, a lot of steps forward, which is amazing. But I think the most remote field of the industry is still a lot behind. And the other issue for this to happen is also the ROI aspect of cybersecurity. So, and this is something that we have been highly working on at Hacken, how to turn cybersecurity ROI positive and not be seen as just an expenditure, which actually circles back on the question hedging or not hedging, because at the moment it's just an expenditure and we need to make it ROI positive. We can frame it in different ways. If a business is not in the position or with the willing to spend a certain amount of their budget for cybersecurity, because everything that we are talking about costs money and costs time, and this is a huge question mark for these entities. So should they sorry, I muted myself. Should they spend this money or not? And if they do, will it be seen as I 10,000 now, but I'm saving 100,000? And can those people that are asking me to comply with these elements help me seeing that I'm actually saving these budgets, because they are? So all of this is very important. And then comes, sorry for being so long, Gabi, but then comes the answer to the question. When the client, the project actually realizes that it should proceed forward to audit, is it audit ready on paper only? Is it resilient in production? It's a lot about maturity. I would say a large majority of those that are right now, while we speak, developing smart contracts or something to be implemented on chain, they are just audit ready on paper. And what was demanded for the last 8 years is that they have a stamp of approval, of confirmation that they are safe. But this safeness, this feeling of security, is a snapshot in time. So also circling back to what Eraclis said, and which I fully back, that the main issue is access control, the issue is phishing, the main issue is social engineering, is not smart contracts vulnerabilities. On our report on 2025, we accounted that the smart contract vulnerabilities were actually 12% of all the major security breaches that we witnessed. So they will be just audit ready on paper. Most mature businesses like centralized exchanges will be more resilient in production, but still is just an expenditure. So we need to see essentially the system boundary clarity. Do they have enough clarity on the contracts, on the upgrade paths, on the roles? If they should focus more on off-chain or on-chain components? How is the infrastructure? Third-party integrations? If they have the idea of everything where they are touching base. Then we have obviously the operational discipline. How strong is the key management, the change of control, monitoring privilege actions, and so forth. And I think it ends up with detection and response maturity, which again is quite natural for businesses in this realm to push away the problem until they need to fix it. They really run behind the loss or the potential loss. So also, for example, asking for these people to invest in detection, continuous security, real-time monitoring, response maturity. I mean, it's difficult for them, but it's a complete and necessary shift in mindset. What we are discussing today is highly needed, but it will require some social engineering on our side as well, some educational component, let's say, for on one side, for them to feel that what's demanded is actually needed, and what's needed actually makes sense at the end of the year from a perspective of security ROI. So I'd summarize, audit readiness is documentation, but resilience is essentially governance, controls, practiced responses, and is applied end to end.
Yep. So here we are we are the prophets, like spreading the word. But when you go to the, let's say, real life, everyone will put an excuse like, yeah, I cannot do that because we cannot pay that or something. So before wrapping up and before Belen kills me, I would like to do like a quick round. So in a sentence, just in one sentence. So could you say what is one sentence the blockchain industry should stop saying because it has become an excuse for weak cybersecurity. So, do you want to start, Eraclis? Just one sentence.
Okay. So I would say when an incident occurs, organizations shouldn't be explaining or having to explain their tech and procedures, but instead being able to hand over a standardized process and package to that matches the regulatory standards.
Yeah. Awesome. Next one. Should be the net.
Should I go?
Christiana.
Well, okay. The sentence I should say we should stop using is the following: the system is secure because the smart contract was audited. Because this statement reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of what security actually means. Thank you.
Okay, next one.
Yeah. Can I?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could avoid saying that blockchain is immutable, it is inherently secure, so it does not require any further security enhancement or updates. Under the Cyber Resilience Act, this is a concept that cannot be tolerated. And if manufacturers wish to be able to demonstrate conformity with the Cyber Resilience Act, they are required to comply with specific security requirements and follow specific structure processes mandated by the law.
Yep. Thank you.
And standards will be very helpful in facilitating this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And João.
So if I could, I would have used Christiana's sentence. I think it's brilliant, and actually it's pretty widely used in the industry. But as an alternative, I think the most crazy one I found was that I will fix whatever problem I might have on the code after launching, if anything comes up, which is very interesting because once it comes up, the audit is or the security protection is pretty much worthless. And yeah, again, it's a huge mindset shift that is necessary.
My favorite is I couldn't see what I was signing, so it's a very good excuse. So let's wrap up. So thank you everyone, and it was a very interesting conversation. And
Thank you.
Glad to have you in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.